Good morning. My name is Gilbert Gonzalez, and I'll be giving you your next period of instruction over Halloween and its history. This is an informative presentation. I hope that you can gain some knowledge of some sort of this presentation. Thank you. Let's begin. So, Halloween. What is it exactly? What is it? What is Halloween? Well, it began around 8th century in Scotland or Ireland, and it was created by this festival named Samhain, and the ones or the partakers of this festival, the proprietors of this festival, were called the Druids or Druid. It was a Celtic cult religion, and in the festival they would hold these massive bonfires. I mean, massive throughout the land. Everyone knew that when Samhain came, when that festival came, it came because they would chop down trees and just throw it all into a pile, and it was this giant bonfire, like citywide bonfire. Could you imagine that? And during this festival, they would sacrifice crops, animals, and even humans. All this was to attain the favor or the grace of some unseen deities or gods. And also during the festival, they would dress up like animals, hence wearing costumes and whatnot, assuming a different identity. Next slide. The Druids and their worship. The Druids were Celtic high priests that practiced blood sacrifice, divination, and worship to deities or gods. And they would do this all for fertility, so that it was essentially like a give and take relationship. Like, we'll give you worship, humans, or crops. You give us good land and crops for the next year. That's kind of what it was like. You can think of the U.S. government. I kid. So, the Celtic religion, this is from a senior pastor, Tony Blanquis, and he declared that the Celtic religion were the barrier of our world, and the spirit world is at its thinnest. So the spiritual real was more real. Therefore, Satanists use this day to celebrate witchcraft. Kind of correlates with the divination portion. Divination is this like sorcery and fortune telling, things like that. I don't want to say prophetic because it's not prophetic, because it's knowledge from a dark entity. Next, All Saints Day. What is All Saints Day? What is this? Well, All Saints Day is actually the 1st of November, and this was a scheme or a tactic created by Pope Gregory III when Christianity was growing so massively throughout the land that it was taking over all the religions. So what he decided and what he devised was a plan to help the pagan nations transfer over to Christianity and make it more easier for them. So he created a holiday for them called All Saints Day. And they still got to deal with the death or the dying part of life, because that's what Halloween or Samhain was about, was sacrifice and whatnot. So what he did is he made it to be a day where they pray for the dead. He substituted the festival, so at the altars where they would pray at, those altars now became altars to preach at. He would use their altars, and their sacrifices what they would use for Christian works. And the senior pastor, Tony Blanquis, this is another statement from him. He says, All Saints Day is a Catholic custom and has nothing to do with Christianity. Unfortunately, this tradition has leaked into the Church of Christ. If you actually look at the Bible, there's nothing ever declared about praying for the dead in this regard. Next. Culture and modern day Halloween. What is modern day culture in Halloween? Costumes, pumpkin carving, and of course, trick-or-treating. Children. Don't they love it? So the costumes, the modern day Halloween has never lost its tradition in costumes, because Samhain they would dress up like animals, so it's not expected to see people dress up in costumes now when there's Halloween. And the pumpkin carving, the jack-o'-lanterns, that is considered the public face of Halloween. Anytime that you see a jack-o'-lantern, what do you automatically think? Halloween. Trick-or-treating. Trick-or-treating. It sounds nice, it sounds cute, but actually in the Great Depression, during that period, There was a city, Anoka City in Minnesota, that experienced such a great increase of vandal activity that they would actually remove their gates, their doors, and they would hide them in their barns or their stables because they were expecting vandals to come through the neighborhood and take their hinges off. And not only would they take their hinges off, but they would take their hinges from the front gates of their property, they would remove it and take it into the center of town and throw it in there and start a giant bonfire. Or just throw it in there and everyone would have to sort out their stuff. So imagine this. Imagine you having to find your front door or your front gate amongst 100,000 other front gates. And you can see the frustration behind it all. Modern day symbols of Halloween. Modern day symbols of Halloween are skeletons, bats, and witches. Skeletons, why? Because it's centralized on the theme of death or dark or scary. Bats, because this is the more pleasable nocturnal creature to the public eye. Like, the culture would have rather gone with bats in comparison to ghouls or goblins or zombies or vampires. Bats are more appeasing in comparison to a ghoul. And of course, witches. Why? Because witches is at the root of it all. Wiccan, divination. As you can see and compare the Druid priests with the modern day witches, they deal with divination or fortune telling. So these are the roots of Halloween, the symbols of Halloween, the practices of Halloween, where it originated from, and how it dwindled into somehow a Christian holiday. This is the end of my slide. Thank you very much. Hope you have a great day, and I hope that you've been informed.